Hello, this is Nancy Juetten. I am your podcast guesting success expert, and I have a question for you. Have you been wondering how to weave podcast guesting into your marketing approach so that you can attract big clients without having to have them swim through your funnel? If you're nodding your head yes, I can tell you that what's coming straight ahead is going to be value that you're going to consider well worth your time. So what I'd love for you to do is to shut down other screens, to put your phone away, and just give me your full attention for the next short window of time. And I promise you're going to shift your perspective and get very excited about a way to grow your business that will be fun and fruitful. And let's get on with the show. I'm going to pull up my slides here so we can have some cool visuals to guide our journey, and we'll be off to the races. What are we here to talk about? We're here to talk about the Podcast Guest Authority Playbook, how you can land 2 high-impact guest spots a month to attract big fish and boost your credibility and amplify your brand. Who is this training for? This is for you if you're a speaker, an expert, or a relationship-driven leader who wants to reel in big fish clients, attract partnerships, and enjoy visibility without getting bogged down by complicated tech and funnels. What will you learn today? Well, some of the insights you'll gain is why premium clients prefer podcasts over webinars, the secret to skipping funnels and tech hassles, and some podcast guesting return on investment unlocked. You'll also learn the 3 essential steps to land and shine on top-tier podcasts. You'll find your why and define your purpose-driven message, create a consistent guesting system, and show up like a pro. I'll also have a way for us to go deeper in our work together before we wrap up today, should you be hungry for even more one-on-one support. So with all of that, let's get on with the show. When I heard this quote, it stopped me in my tracks, and I give the credit to Thomas Schwab, the CEO and founder of Interview Valet, one of the top done-for-you booking agencies that I've discovered in the last 5 years since I've been focusing in this arena. He said, and I quote, "Big fish don't swim through funnels, and whales don't click." Think about it. Does your doctor, your attorney, your CPA, people of that type invest hours and hours to participate in 3-day events, 5-day challenges, and long, windy webinars or masterclasses? I would venture to say that quite a few of them do not, because big fish are looking for solution providers to problems that are keeping them up at night. And if they can meet you and get connected with you quickly, you're doing business straight away. And isn't that an outcome that you would like more of? This is a very big idea. There was also a launch debrief that turned my head not long ago from one of my most respected colleagues, Tom Poland. I was fortunate to attend his launch debrief because I was among his top partners. And one of the things that he said was that 95% of those who registered for the free book he was offering did not register for the webinar. 95%. So we're going to all of this effort to attract people into our funnel, but 95% of them are not showing up to get the content. I just scratched my head. All this begs a question. Could there be a better method to reach interested and engaged audiences that's already in place? What's my story? I discovered podcast guesting in 2020 during the pandemic after decades serving as a publicist, working for clients with names that you would know. Roger Staubach, Vern Yip, David Bromstad of HGTV, Fran Vigel of Fran's Chocolates. The list goes on and on. So with all that experience working behind the scenes, making my clients look big in the media, I started to look at podcast guesting through new eyes during a time in our lives where we weren't even able to leave our house. And I thought, I wonder if podcast guesting could be the gift that we're all looking for to broadcast our brilliance to more of the people we need to reach so that we could create revenue rushes for our products, programs, and services during a time in our lives where we were isolated. Well, what do you know? I was able to create that revenue rush for my own products, programs, and services. And I discovered that I had a system that I could teach to other entrepreneurs so that they could have that outcome too. And since then, I've taught over 5,000 experts to book themselves on top podcasts without hiring an expensive booking agency. And this has contributed to hundreds of show bookings for empowered clients who are never having to be beholden to an agency ever again. And they're never going to be hungry for an audience ever again because they know exactly what to do and how to do it. A challenge that I've noticed as I've trained and coached so many clients is that some experts get stuck at hello. They obsess about their bio, their hot topics, and their interview questions, and formatting their media one sheet. And the trouble with that is they never get to the getting booked part. And as a consequence, they remain invisible, best kept secrets who suffer because not enough people are listening to their big ideas, perspectives, stories, and invitations. I'm on a mission to change that. Podcasts are influential avenues that offer you the opportunity to share your point of view, your unique perspectives, and conversations with influencers as opposed to a designated training event punctuated by a pitch. The episodes reside online indefinitely, making you and your ideas easy to find in a Google search to reinforce your brand and reputation. And you get the benefit of often loyal, curated, and embedded audiences searching for information about what you most want to talk about. And there are tens of thousands of podcasts that could be right for your message if you just got yourself on a few of those shows. Podcast guesting offers all of us an avenue to be seen, heard, and celebrated. I believe good stories stand on their own merit, and conversations that connect bring qualified leads and sales, provided the audience to message match is right. I've been putting these beliefs to the test for the last 4 years, and I will tell you that my super skills are learning and getting to chat with influential leaders and creating lasting relationships. And if you like to create those kinds of outcomes, I can tell you that podcast guesting is soon to be your favorite visibility strategy. Maybe you prefer simplicity to complexity. Is there anyone out there that feels that way? Could it be that you're resistant to cold calling? Maybe sliding into someone's DMs is not your favorite way to connect with influencers and potential clients. Friends, my comment to you is that podcast guesting is the antidote of some of what makes you cringe so that you can spend more time in the cake zone. More time in the cake zone. So do business owners register for webinars? They absolutely do. 91% of business-to-business professionals say webinars are their preferred type of content. 83% of webinars have fewer than 50 live attendees, and 63% of webinar views are on demand. Most webinars have fewer than 100 registrants and have 10.3% higher live attendance rates, and the data goes on and on. Webinars are effective. People pay attention. Make no mistake. But do business owners also listen to podcasts? Absolutely. According to a study by Lower Street and Content FX, 55% of business owners and founders are listening to podcasts daily. The bigger the brand, the bigger the scope for listenership. Research shows that 70 to 72% of owners of businesses with 100 to 500 employees are regularly tuning into podcasts. Those are big fish and whales. 70 to 70% of owners with businesses with 100 to 500 employees are regularly tuning into podcasts. Those people need to know about you. Now, if you're doing webinars, and I'm absolutely a fan of webinars, just know that they require some back of the house elements to be successful. You'll need an opt-in page and a thank you page and the show up live reminders and the SMS reminders to show up live on the phone and maybe a PowerPoint presentation. And then, of course, there's the after the call email sequence to ensure that sales flow as desired. This is a lot of moving parts. But some business owners find this just a little bit overwhelming. And here's another wrinkle. Only 3% of live callers are ready to buy right now. That means that the majority of registrants are kicking tires, seeking insights, or making a habit of belling up to the free bar until such time as they have dollars or inclination to invest in their success. This can be a lot of moving parts to navigate for those of us who have yet to build an audience for their own work just yet, or don't yet have a network of influential joint venture partners to help build their buzz. Could you be one of those people that doesn't yet have a big audience for your work or a network of JV partners? If that's your challenge, podcast guesting can be a great avenue for you. Because after all, not everyone is building an empire based on a numbers game. Some, like me, are building and running highly profitable boutique-style businesses for which referrals, warm introductions, and inbound client inquiries are the fuel. Podcast guesting offers a perfect environment to fan these flames. You know what else? Podcast guesting may be simpler for some. You secure the booking for a show that already has an audience of people that are interested in what you have to say. You show up for the interview. You deliver the value. You share the show across social, your e-zine, or blog when it airs. And what do you know? You welcome results. That's pretty darn simple. So what do I recommend? I recommend both approaches. If you've been leading webinars or masterclasses or 3-day events or 5-day challenges or whatever your vehicle has been, and it is bearing fruit for you, by all means, the data suggests that you should continue to do it. But ask yourself if those avenues are giving you the fastest path to the big whales and fish that you most want to invite into your ecosystem. Podcast guesting is the fastest path to attract those people into your world so you can do more business with people that you most definitely consider your ideal clients. So let's take a page from the Podcast Guesting Authority Playbook and put Charlotte Jacobs of Thrive Academy in the spotlight for a moment. She's intending to land 2 high-impact guest spots a month to attract big fish clients, boost her credibility, and amplify her brand. But before I share a little bit more about Charlotte, I want to just briefly share a 5-point process to drill down on your brilliant bio because it will be powerful for you when you sit down to do this for yourself. You may or may not know that I am somewhat internet famous for writing a book called Bye Bye Boring Bio, and I have since helped thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs and experts name and claim a brilliant bio that opens doors to attract clients, speaking gigs, or media interviews. And so I speak from a place of authority here when I say that there are 5 steps to pursue. The first thing you want to do is decide what kind of bio you need right now, whether it's to attract clients, speaking gigs, or media interviews, because one size does not fit all situations. The next thing you want to do is reflect on the who, the how, and the wow. Who is the ideal audience? How do you make the big impact? And what is the wow or the point of differentiation that you bring? The next step is to prove your value and impact by sharing your credentials, your experience, your awards, your recognition, or testimonials even that demonstrate that you just didn't hang out your shingle yesterday. Then the next step is to put some personality into it so that you can make a connection with the people that you're here to serve and build some know, like, and trust. And then the final step is to prepare your right size stories for the right situation. Would it surprise you to know that for podcast guesting, 100 words or less is going to be the version that's going to serve you best, and that it needs to be written in the third person with short, punchy sentences so that the host can easily read it and introduce you and set the stage for you to have a fantastic conversation? Well, it's true. So now that you know the 5 steps to creating a brilliant bio that opens doors, let's talk a little bit more about Charlotte. She's been at this since 2004, and she and her husband, Jesse Corin, have guided over 150,000 coaches and holistic practitioners to magnetize high-paying clients through their transformative heart selling system. That is a stunning result over a long period of time. While Jesse and Charla have earned over 35 million in sales, that's a huge credibility factor. Their greatest win comes from Thrive Academy members who have earned a collective 500 million plus. Many of today's transformational leaders manifested their first 10,000 revenue months after working with them. If this is the only paragraph that the host has time to read, the stage has been set for Charla to be a very interesting guest and a conversation that's juicy to instantly follow. If there's more time, the second paragraph could be useful. At the heart of their teachings lies the ancient wisdom of the 5 elements, which Charla discovered during her healing journey and training to become an acupuncturist. Her deep connection with these 5 elements, fire, earth, metal, water, and wood, evolved during a transformative 3-month stay at a Zen monastery following an abusive relationship and a rough period of financial scarcity. She transcended those struggles to manifest a divine partnership, build a joyful family, and become unstoppable in creating the inspired tools and templates that empower her clients to succeed. There's so much there that a host could pull out to unfold a beautiful conversation that would also be relevant and congruent to the outcomes that Charla wants to invite from being a guest on the podcast in the first place. So we put these 5 steps into place to have a brilliant bio for Charla. Then what we do is we create hot, hooky topics that she can speak about that are compelling. The power of vulnerability, how sharing your most vulnerable moments can forge genuine connections with potential clients. Discover these 3 crucial questions to ensure you share the right stories at the right time. Ooh, I could see how a podcast episode could be focused for the whole 20 minutes on just that one topic. But there's more. She can also talk about mastering presence in client enrollment, or why living fully expressed is every coach and holistic practitioner's most powerful lever for client attraction. When you have hot, hooky topics and a compelling host-friendly bio, the next thing you need is suggested interview questions that aren't just blah, 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 but actually guide the conversation in a strategic, focused way so that you can end the show with the outcome that you want, which is to invite people to do the thing you most want them to do. So here we have humble beginnings to transformational leadership. Your journey to empowering coaches and holistic practitioners began in 2004 with a modest start and a lot of humility. Can you share more about your early days? That's an open-ended question that can lead to a really juicy, delicious answer and guide the conversation in all kinds of strategic, focused ways. If you want the conversation to go in the direction that will be fruitful for you, do the host the honor and favor of suggesting interview questions to set you all up for success. Once all this is pulled together, you can create a media one sheet that summarizes everything in an attractive manner that's useful to a host so that the conversation unfolds exactly as planned. And then what do you know? Maybe the person that you are talking to is so excited about what you had to say that they host you for their show straight away, which is exactly what I did. After working with Charla on her media one sheet, I asked her if she would do me the honor of being a guest on my show. And already there have been hundreds and hundreds of views of this conversation, and that is excellent visibility, credibility, and authority for Charla. And it's also allowed me to deepen my relationship with her. Was Charla happy about this experience? She sure was. She is the leader of a group on Facebook called Leaders for Conscious Business that has 300 to 400 of my ideal clients happily communicating and engaging. And she wrote a beautiful comment about how I guided her to create a beautiful media one sheet where she's ready to share a deeper cut of her story, and that she couldn't have been happier with the outcome or the experience. This is the kind of thing that lights me up, because it's not just about doing good work for a client, but seeing a client step into their bigger story so that they can make a bigger difference with the people they most want to serve. So if you want what Charlotte and so many other people are having, how about today be the day that you set your intention that your work deserves a much wider audience? Your time is now. I want you to create a new habit by booking 2 podcast guest spots a month all year long, because when you do this, your consistency will pay off and outcomes will come your way that will blow your mind and boost your business. When you make the decision to become a podcast guest and to do it regularly, please be focused and specific about why you're doing it and what purpose-driven message you're going to reinforce. Years ago, I remember a woman that I knew who was so excited that Dr. Phil wanted to invite her to his television program. And she thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to be on the Dr. Phil show. That's going to change everything for me. But the trouble was, she was a equine therapy consultant who helped people overcome trauma about deep-seated trauma in their lives. But the Dr. Phil show that she was going to be a guest on was all about how she was discriminated against for her kinky hair and what her story was around that. And I still remember this to this day. And I'm thinking, why is she going to the Dr. Phil show to talk about that? Because it isn't relevant and congruent to the things she does today. How could she possibly hope to monetize from a television program when she's talking about something that has absolutely nothing to do with what she does today? So when you're looking around and thinking about how to be a guest on a show, what do you want to talk about? What is the purpose of it? And make sure that you are deliberate and discerning about choosing shows and editorial environments where it's a good fit. Because if you guest on the wrong shows, you're not doing yourself or your business any favors. The other thing is important to do is to create a consistent guesting system. You want to have a repeatable process to land guest spots on the right shows without spinning your wheels. If you fail to plan, those who fail to plan to fail. So you'll want to calendar your efforts, and you'll want the results enough to pursue fortune in the follow-up. And you want to be the kind of guest that a top host can't wait to book. So I'll just share a story for fortune in the follow-up. There was a particular show that I wanted to be a guest on. I was fortunate to be warmly introduced by a mutual colleague. I thought all the steps were set for something wonderful to happen, and all I heard was crickets. And I thought, did I overstep? Did I make it over enthusiastic approach? Did I do something inappropriate? I satisfied myself that I didn't do anything wrong. So after the normal kinds of follow-up, I pursued it with an email that said, if you're not stuck under heavy furniture, won't you give me a call? And what do you know? The host called me and he said, oh my gosh, I received the book you sent. I've enjoyed the emails that you've shared. I'm so sorry that I dropped the ball. How about I book you for this Thursday? If you wanted enough to ask for it, wanted enough to follow up, I'm not asking you to spend hours and hours and hours on this, because nowadays there are so many podcast guesting matchmaking sites that you can associate with where you can find people straight away. I'm asking you to designate a couple hours a week to podcast guesting in the context of everything else that you're doing. And if you could reach those widespread ideal audiences talking about what it is that you want to talk about in the manner that you want to talk about it, you have the power of leverage working for you as well. So create a system, calendar your time, and make sure that you book those 2 shows a month. It's just 2 shows a month. It's manageable, it's bite-sized, but it can have big impact. When it comes to showing up like a pro, I want you to learn how to deliver memorable, high-impact interviews that position you as a sought-after authority. So you'll want to dial in your hot, hooky topics and suggest those suggested interview questions. And your host-friendly bio should be easy to read with short, punchy sentences so the host does not have to gasp for air when he or she reads it. I want you to make sure you have a microphone at your desk because that gives your audience members the gift of sound. And I want you to look and sound like the best possible professional who's on brand and on purpose, because today, so many podcasts also have a video component, and what you look like has a role to play in the impact that you make. Now, if you want to monetize from a podcast, I highly recommend that you have a 4-figure offer that's already selling so you can be quick to earn return on your time and your effort. It's also good to have an irresistible free gift that's already converting from click to lead or another singular call to action. For example, if you want to invite consultations to explore how you can be of deeper service to a potential client, make it easy for folks to book those consultations. I have a page called getknowngetpaid.com/apply where people can flock there to tell me a little bit about the problems they're solving and how I might be able to support them. And that sets the stage for us to have a really great conversation. If that's exciting to you, I invite you to, of course, visit that link and apply, and I look forward to talking with you. So what are some of the wins that you can welcome when you're a podcast guest just twice a month? Well, these wins came close to home. I'll never forget the time that one of my colleagues invited me to be a guest on his podcast about marketing with a book and a speech. This was a live podcast, and there were only 27 listeners on the call. And I thought to myself, oh my goodness, this is a very small audience. I hope I'm able to make an impact. Well, as it turned out, I did a great job because by the time the call was over, 4 of those 27 callers became my 4-figure offer takers. And I was off to the races doing beautiful business with perfectly aligned clients. Another win close to home comes from my husband. He's a business exit strategist, and he was tired of doing cold calls and DMs. And I suggested to him that he book himself on a podcast related to business exit strategy. And the very first podcast he guested on resulted in a 4-figure client and an introduction to a host of CPAs that invited him to deliver a webinar so that he could become a referral source to all of them. This was his first podcast out of the gate with this business. And then, of course, there have been many a time that hosts that I have met have decided to hire me to do their media one-sheets for them, because hosts not only host their own show, but they want to be guests on other influential shows. And some of them just don't have the wherewithal or the talent or the inclination to position themselves as great guests. And I've been hired to do that by many hosts that I've met in the last 4 or 5 years that I've been focusing on podcast guesting. So those are just a few wins from home. But what wins come from the trenches, from the many, many hundreds or thousands of clients that I've been able to train in all these systems? Well, they welcome new leads from sharing their call to action. They welcome inbound client inquiries that lead to new engagements and sales. They welcome new strategic partnerships and lasting relationships that stand the test of time. They get invited to be a repeat guest or a periodic co-host. They welcome warm introductions to new hosts or clients, or invitations to speak or train on live or virtual summit stages. One good thing always leads to another. Do these kinds of results sound like the kinds of outcomes that would be welcome for you? If so, please lean in. There's more to come. When you are completing your webinar, or your podcast guest spot, the host will invariably say, well, Bob or Susie, it's been so great having on this show. What is the one thing you would love our audience to do as a result of meeting you for the first time? And this is what I call ping-ponging people back into your ecosystem. Don't overwhelm with multiple calls to action. Think about the one singular thing you could invite people to do that will bring them into your world. And when you're choosing shows, this is a Captain Obvious comment. I call it straight talk. If you're selling fishing supplies, don't be a podcast guest on a quilting show. You need to be discerning about where you show up. And so here's a few parameters to consider. Choose shows that have 20 or more episodes already in the can, and 100 is even better. The embedded audience is the key. You want to be talking where people are already listening. That you also want to choose shows that are regularly producing that featured guest experts, because some people do have guest experts and some people don't. Don't waste time pitching a host that doesn't invite guests. You also want to choose shows that have favorable reviews, and you'll want to add yours to the mix, because one of the greatest things you can do is see, hear, and celebrate the host in the currency that matters to him or her. And a host wants more downloads, more eyeballs, and more reviews so that they can attract an even bigger audience. And if you give them that gift, chances are they're going to pay attention to you. Now, many people say that podcast guesting is something they're putting on the shelf because they don't have time to investigate all these details. But here's the beautiful thing. In this day and age, AI has become such a big deal that many of the podcast matchmaking sites are now AI enabled to make it super fast and easy for you to find the right shows in seconds instead of minutes or hours. So this doesn't have to be hard. It can be very, very efficient if you just get in the game. So another big question you want to ask yourself is, what conversation do you most want to lead? You'll want to name and claim your ideal audience in your host-friendly bio so that when you're talking to these people, you're talking to the right people and making it easy for them to know that you're the expert they've been waiting to meet all along. You're going to want to name and claim those 3 hooky hot topics, and you're going to want to dial in at least 3 suggested interview questions to guide an interview. This is so foundational. And what I will tell you is that there are many graphic designers that will take your content and flow it into a media one sheet, and it may look pretty, but it may not be strategic and focused and on point. Garbage in, garbage out. You really can benefit from having a second set of eyes guiding you to really dial in these things so that they are serving you at the best possible level and in the best possible way. So when you're writing your hot hooky topics, you're going to want to make your bullet points fire with impact. One of mine is create a media one sheet that makes a compelling case for why you're the guest top host can't wait to book. Oh, that's interesting. Does anyone who's listening to this interested in that? I bet you some of you are. It's not create a media one sheet, end of sentence. It's create a media one sheet that makes a compelling case for why you're the guest top host can't wait to book. Wow, I'm interested in that. Can you show me how to do that, Nancy? Absolutely. So you're going to want to put some curiosity and intrigue into your bullet point, some urgency and some specificity, so that you don't just fade into the wallpaper like everyone else with their generic topics, but you have hot and hooky topics. Now, once you're fortunate to be a guest on a show, one of the smartest things you can do, especially if you want to attract big whales and fish into your ecosystem, is to repurpose your podcast guesting episode. How can you do that? Well, you can share the episode on your social media and through your newsletter or blog. You can create micro content from each episode to appeal to the big fish and whales on LinkedIn who may not have time to wade through your entire webinar or 3-day challenge. You can share your best episodes with prospects before meeting for discovery calls so that they can experience your content in a non-hypey way, develop a bridge of trust to appreciate your expertise, and be even more excited to meet with you. You can share your episodes via your online press room. If you have 3 to 5 episodes or 30 to 50 episodes, either way, if you make it easy for people to find those episodes, they can sample your content and delivery and your value 24/7 wherever they are in the world. And if they love what they heard and saw, they're going to be beating a path to take your call to action and to start a conversation that could lead to new business for you. Podcast episodes make you so much easier to find in a Google search. Using Charlotte as an example, you can look for Charlotte Jacobs guesting on podcasts for 2024. And in a simple Google search, find out that she's been on a bunch of podcasts, and you can listen to her and decide if what she does at Thrive Academy is resonant with what it is that you want to accomplish. And what do you know? She just might be attracting new leads, connections, clients, and cash in her business because she is so readily accessible in a Google search. Are you readily accessible in a Google search? And what does the search return? I want you to start getting excited about the idea that one good podcast interview can lead to others, because you know something? When you repurpose your episodes in the ways that I'm describing, not only are you doing a huge solid to the host that invited you to guest, but there are other hosts that are out there that are wishing that their guests would do exactly what you have done, which means that they may be reaching out to you and saying, I heard you on the ABC podcast and you were a brilliant guest, and I so appreciated how you merchandised the episode so powerfully. You're exactly the kind of guest I'd like to have on my show. Are you available, and can we make it happen? This happens time and time again for clients who follow my system, and I'd love for it to be happening for you too. So why does repurposing matter? Because big fish and whales will watch short content and be inspired to do business right now, but they may not attend your 5-day event, and they may not register for your masterclass or show up for it, or they may not attend your 5-day challenge or swim through your funnel. Your short form content is right-sized for solution seekers ready to buy now. And isn't that what most of us want? I want you to make it easy for your clients to get the outcomes they most desire sooner versus later. And the short content you share on LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever profile you are most committed to is going to reinforce your authority, your visibility, your credibility, and it is most definitely going to invite people to get in touch with you. And that is a brilliant outcome. Now, I'm a really big fan of Jack Canfield, and he wrote a book called The Success Principles. And one of his mantras is to practice the rule of 5. He says that even if you take 5 swipes of an axe at the biggest tree in the forest, at some point it's going to come down. And so what is the rule of 5 as it relates to podcast guesting? I want you to take 5 inspired actions every day to advance toward your biggest goal, which is in this case, just 2 podcast guests a month consistently all year long. I want you to be consistent. I want you to be persistent. And I want you to aim high to the best possible shows that will be the best showcase for you and your expertise. And I want you to practice the art of follow-up, because without follow-up, you may miss out on opportunities to be the guest on the show that could change everything for you. And while you're talking to these hosts, make the most of the conversation in the green room afterwards, where the host says, gee, Bob or Susie, you were a brilliant guest. I really enjoyed what we talked about. Gosh, I wonder if you might know of other people that could be a guest on the show, or maybe you're, as a guest, could be in a position to say, gee, Bob, I've really enjoyed this show and I love the whole theme of it. I actually have some really wonderful people in my own network that I think could be great guests. Would you be interested in having me introduce them to you? Go the extra mile to start inviting introductions and to build a relationship, because then podcast guesting isn't a one-night stand, but it's paving the path to a lasting relationship that can be beneficial to all of you indefinitely. So here's my big question. After everything that I've talked about, can you see the value of having podcast guesting as among your favorite visibility strategies? And if yes is your answer, how much do you really want that result? What if podcast audiences that you pursue get to hear your story and message and know right away that you are the expert they need to engage? What if you show up as the very best you every time, and your personality and your magnetism attract even more of the right people to take interest in working with you? And ideal clients come to you pre-sold instead of you chasing them. and you relate so well to the hosts that friendships and collaborations naturally bloom from the effort. And it feels, most importantly, like fun instead of work. This is the possibility I am painting for you that has become real for so many podcast guests when they make podcast guesting a well-formed habit and guest on just 2 shows a month. 2 podcast guest spots a month can make this impact. So my invitation, my suggestion, my desire for you is that you get podcast ready, media savvy, and on message to welcome these results and to do it sooner versus later. So I want to dare you to step up. I want to dare you to step up. And that means deciding that now is the time to make podcast guesting a way to attract big whales and big fish in your business. I want you to ask for the bookings while always aiming high because your work deserves a much wider audience. I want you to resist the temptation to quit because not everyone will say yes, but a whole lot of people will. And then what wonderful outcomes will you welcome? And then I want you to execute because if you do nothing, nothing will happen. So if you're a member of the Getting Ready to Get Ready Club, I want you to drop out starting right now and burn your membership card because podcast hosts are waiting to hear from you. And you can get podcast ready, media savvy, and on message to welcome the results you desire, especially if you decide to bring me onto your success team. There are problems still to solve, as I've said. Some people waste hours and hours trying to dial in the right words or even format their content so that they can be a guest in the first place. Some people wonder if they've framed their expertise and value in a compelling way and wish someone could take a second look. And maybe you can't get booked for lack of know-how or proven time-saving resources to make matches. I want you to know that inspired action delivers rewards, but if you do nothing, nothing will happen. So I have an invitation for you, and I'd love to have your permission to share it. So if you are already bringing in 6 figures or more in your business, my suggestion is that you engage a done-for-you booking agency to represent you, because at the level of business that you are doing, it's probably cost efficient for you to have professionals representing you. In this case, you should expect to invest thousands of dollars for this white glove service over a 6 to 12 month period. It could be thousands of dollars every month. If that's exciting to you, then please send me an email and I'll make a quality introduction and personal referral to among the best podcast guesting agencies that I have already vetted so that you can be served in a world-class way, because anything less is not good enough. But if you're on your way to bringing in 6 figures and hiring an agency is not in the budget, I would like you to acquire the know-how, the confidence, and skills to succeed as a podcast guest while booking yourself on 2 shows a month. I would love to be your guide. You can invest modestly for skills you can own and use for a lifetime. This, my friends, is a fiscally responsible choice. Let's work together one-on-one in a very specific short hop way. I call it the Get Podcast Ready with Nancy Juetten system. As I said, it's hard to write your bio and write your interview questions and get your hot topics dialed in because you can't see the label when you're in the jar. But with all my experience as a publicist, getting people seen, heard, and celebrated in major media, and all the work I've done over the last 4 years dialing in media one-sheets for luminaries with names that you likely know, I can see your brilliance more clearly than you can from a publicist's perspective, and this will serve you so well as a podcast guest. I would like to accelerate your success as a podcast guest by giving you the know-how and the done-for-you messaging that all you have to do is add your inspired action. This is your success recipe. So what can you welcome when you say yes to getting podcasts ready with yours truly? You will save time. You will avert aggravation. You will have speed to bookings. Your confidence will soar. You'll be ready to guest. And most importantly, you'll have the leads, the inbound client inquiries, the new collaborations, and the new clients that you likely want more than you care to confess. So what's included? Well, there's the know-how on demand that you get when you consume the Podcast Dream Guest Mastery online course. This is 5 deep dive videos where I walk you through the proven 6P system for podcast guesting success to prepare, position, prioritize, pitch, ping pong, and profit. I walk you through all 6 steps and exactly what you do to execute beautifully and in a host-friendly way on all of them. There are illuminating worksheets to help you dial in the details. There's time-saving pitching templates that are going to allow you to make winning approaches and actually be selected. There's also time-saving matchmaking resources I'm going to point you to that will allow you to make matches in record time. And you're also going to gain access to my Bye Boring Bio workbook. So every time you make a pivot or a change in your positioning or your expertise, you have the 5-step system at the ready to help you navigate how to write your bio so you can attract speaking gigs, media interviews, and speaking gigs, clients, and media interviews on demand with the bio that opens those doors. This is a brilliant course, and I'll just say that my husband, who, we've been married a long time, but my husband says to me, Nancy, I've taken a lot of courses and this one's the best. And he wasn't just blowing smoke up my skirt. He booked himself on shows after the first week of the digging in and binge watching the training. And he's one of thousands of people who have had that same experience. Now, what else are you going to get? You're going to get a private one-on-one discovery session with me. And as a result of that session, I'm going to create your host-friendly bio, your hooky hot topics, your suggested interview questions, and my team is going to turn around a professionally designed Media One sheet so you don't have to fuss with the formatting. Best of all, you can repurpose the quality content that's packed into your Media One sheet across all the vetted matchmaking platforms to which I'm referring you so that you can accelerate your speed to bookings on the right shows now and indefinitely and feel confident that the results are going to be coming your way with ease. When you add your inspired action to this service, you will secure 2 bookings per month on the right shows by following my proven 6P system. You will share your message. You will create influential relationships. You will drive leads, connections, collaborations, inbound inquiries, and sales. And you will wonder why you didn't do this any sooner. Brent Scarpo took this training and he just celebrated that he booked his 12th podcast. He says, not only did that happen, but he had other results too. He scored 2 new coaching clients, booked 9 guest spots, and 20 speaking gigs with a corporate client. He also welcomed an opportunity to be a corporate online trainer with a leading company. And he told me that all these results happened through his inspired action after the 3rd video. He didn't even finish the 4th or the 5th before he welcomed these results because he was motivated, he was inspired, and he was ready. Are you motivated, inspired, and ready to welcome these kinds of results? So what do you get when you say yes to getting podcast ready with yours truly? This is all about you, VIP client care, speed to a winning result, and no group to navigate. You're going to get a one-on-one intake session with me to dial in your bio, your hot topics, and your interview questions. This is a $997 value. Oh, my slide is stopping. You're going to get a professionally designed Media One sheet to repurpose in time-saving, impactful ways to create brilliant matches. This is a $297 value. You're going to gain access to the Podcast Dream Guest Mastery online course with the 5 videos to guide you to booking yourself on the right fit shows, including referrals to AI-empowered vetted matching services that make it faster and easier than you ever thought it could be. You're also going to gain access to the Bye Bye Boring Bio workbook and a 3-month trial membership to the JV Self-Growth Directory and an onboarding session to support you in making brilliant matches among the 2,000 or more members who are looking for guests just like you. That's a $500 value. I also should point out that the access to the Podcast Dream Guest Mastery course is a $297 value. And then as a fast action bonus, because I believe so wholeheartedly in content repurposing, especially when it comes to attracting big whales and big fish, when you say yes while we're live on this call, I will follow up with a personal introduction and a warm referral to the best content repurposing expert I know, who you can put on your team to make that short form content easy and effortless for you as you attract those big outcomes with big whales and fish. One additional benefit and bonus that you're going to get when you say yes is you get to participate in the Podapalooza, which is a fantastic online event where you get to be the chance to be featured on top podcasts, get booked on shows, and learn from leading experts who have mastered the art of podcasting, public speaking, and purpose-driven entrepreneurship. You can go to these events that happen several times during the year and have all these outcomes to put into practice everything you've learned from getting podcasts ready at the feet of my wisdom. I have had the good fortune to work with a number of clients whose names and faces you likely recognize, and they rave about their experience and results. Milana Lashinsky says, thanks to Nancy Juetten's awesome coaching, I finally have a media one-sheet that summarizes my expertise in the best possible way. I can't tell you how long it's taken me to nail down what I'm an expert at after 7 businesses and 23 years online, but this really does it. I feel so proud of this. Mark Porteous says, I've tried to create a media one-sheet for years. This experience was beyond expectations with value way beyond the finished product. You rocked it. Caroline Fober says, Nancy Juetten is a world-class biz guru that's as nice as she is savvy, and you need to add her to your business success team now. She's known for her 5-star media speaker sheets and her Get Podcast Ready Done For You service. Everything she offers deserves your attention as she impresses and inspires at every turn. The media one-sheet she created for me opens doors everywhere I go knocking. Another 5-star rating from me. Thank you, Nancy. The raves keep coming. I have no refunds on this product. People love the experience and the results, and you will too. You will too. These clients are all mover and shaker clients who appreciate being taken by the hand to benefit from a done-for-you service from an experienced boutique provider such as myself. These are the kinds of clients I most love to work with, and my question to you is, could you be next? So what is your wise investment when you say yes to the Done to Get Podcast Ready with Nancy Juetten package? It's $997. And you will get that one-on-one intake session with me, a professionally designed media one-sheet. You will get access to the Podcast Dream Guest Mastery course to guide you in booking yourself on the right shows with these AI-empowered vetted matching services. You're going to get the Bye Bye Boring Bio workbook to guide you to make your bio brilliant for the lifetime of every business you ever run for the rest of your life. You're going to get the 3-month trial membership in the Self-Growth JV directory, giving you access to those 2,000 people, many of whom have podcasts and YouTube shows looking for guests just like you. And when you say yes while we're live on this webinar, I'm going to make a personal introduction to my best content repurposing expert so that you can save time and energy and effort knowing that your short content is going to attract those big whales and big fish that you so want to attract into your ecosystem sooner versus later. $997 for everything, including your ticket to Podapalooza, which will again be a fabulous content-rich environment for you to be connecting with hosts so that you can become a guest and start amplifying your impact as soon as possible. So what do you do to say yes? I want you to visit this link, getknowngetpaid.com/get podcast guest ready. I want you to say yes right now. I want you to book your private session with me. Anticipate a great result and a great experience, because anything less simply is not good enough. And I want us to do it as soon as possible, because the sooner we do this, the sooner you're going to be shining bright with the confidence and conviction to be a guest on the shows that are right for your message, so you can welcome all the great outcomes that I've promised. Give me access to how amazing you are. I'll look at your website. I'll look at your social media profiles. I'll look at your blog. I'll look at everything that you have available online. I'll bring all that insight to our private discovery session, and I'll turn around a door-opening media one-sheet that will deliver the impact for you. I will accelerate your path to podcast guesting success so you can show up and shine now and indefinitely. That is my promise to you. So if you want that, go ahead and visit the link that you see on your screen, and we'll be doing business. Your mission is to add 2 best fit podcast guest spots a month to your agenda, with the intention and belief that those conversations will attract big fish and whales who are ready to do serious business with you without swimming through your funnel. How awesome is that? So if you have questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. But if you're already ready to go, you know what to do. And I hope that you do it. If you have questions, you can send them to me at nancy@getknowngetpaid.com. And if you're ready to go, well, as I said, you know what to do. Thank you so much for being attentive to this training today. I hope that you got value beyond expectations. It was certainly my pleasure to be with you today, and I can't wait to help be in your success corner and by your side as we get you media ready for podcast guesting, so that your 2 podcast guest spots a month objective is already secure. Thank you so much, and I will be looking forward to talking with you. Bye-bye for now.